Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of This Week in Magic Online Finance. I'm your host, Chaz Andres, and as always, let's get started with the news. Now, the biggest story of this week can't be anything other than Throne of Eldraine previews. We now know more than half the rares and mythics in the set, and, well, it looks stupendous. Seriously, I really do think that Throne of Eldraine is going to be in the top half of standard legal sets in terms of power level, and honestly probably the top quarter. This set is really good. As you know if you've watched any of my videos recently, or honestly if you've played any Magic Online recently, Modern is the format that makes the world go round financially on MTGO these days. Because of Arena, standard cards that are really good in Standard tend to be worth a lot more in paper than on MTGO, while standard cards that are good in Modern tend to be worth a lot more in Magic Online than in paper. So, if you're speculating on a new set based on Magic Online, the cards you really need to find early are those that are going to be the future Modern staples. So far, the Modern cards that I'm the highest on out of Throne of Eldraine for Modern play are Charming Prince, Emry Lurker of the Loch, and Once Upon a Time. Charming Prince is so versatile it could fit into a dozen different decks. Emry is so powerful it might spawn a couple of unique new archetypes based around artifacts, which, as we all know, artifacts are never good in Modern. And lastly, Once Upon a Time might be the most broken card in the set, perhaps the most broken card in several sets. Granted, I want to see it actually see play before I really stake my claim in that, but it looks so good so far. Now, Throne of Eldraine is not going to be on sale for a minute yet, but that's where I'd start my Modern shopping list so far. Let's move on now to gaining ground, where in Standard, the card that gained the most ground this week was Niv Mizzet Reborn, gaining 3 tickets from 5 up to 8. And this is the result of an MTGO user named I Have the Fire, who just utterly destroyed a Modern event back on September 8th with a Niv Mizzet 5-color deck in Modern. And this is one of those decks, these 5-color Niv decks, they've been kind of lower on the Modern tier list for a while, but it was just such a convincing victory and it's such a cool deck, a lot of people saw it and said, hey, I want to build this one too. Now, in paper, the card from this deck that spiked the most was actually Pillar of the Payrunes. Online, it was definitely Niv. Honestly, I don't think this spike is really going to last. The price is already dropping a little, and 5-color Niv Mizzet is not so much the next great thing in Modern, as it is a fine deck that won an event due to a combination of good luck and good play. If you do want to invest, I'd grab Pillar of the Payrunes. That card is still pretty cheap on Magic Online, though it has started to tick up a little bit in the past few days, and it's still very low supply. Due to the fact that this card is actually like $30 in paper, it could double up a couple of times on MTGO and still be quite a bit lower than the paper price. If you really believe in 5-color Niv Mizzet, that's where I'd put my money right now. Over in Modern, the card that gained the most ground this week was Wrenn and Six yet again, climbing another 7 tickets from 133 all the way up to 140. So, is this just our new reality right now? Wrenn and Six just going up and up and up in price forever, and I guess you better buy in now before it hits 200, or what's going on here? I still don't think so. Like I said last week, treasure chests are still a major concern here, because at some point, WotC is going to start handing out Wrenn and Sixes again, and that price is going to tumble. Also, I've started to see some signs on the price chart that this might actually be the peak. All that growth was earlier last week, and the past couple of days this card has actually been pretty stable at the top, might even be dropping a bit. So, if you bought Wrenn and Six on spec and you are looking for the right time to sell, I really do think that this might be it. Of course, I've said that before about this card and been wrong, so I guess just take that into consideration. Let's move on now to our biggest loser, where in Standard it was Teferi Time Raveler, dropping another 5 tickets from 35 down to 30. This is now Teferi's second straight week on top of the Standard biggest losers list, and that 50-ticket peak just seems forever ago. To make matters worse, War of the Spark is about to leave the set redemption guarantee window date, and, you know, I'm just really uncomfortable about owning any Standard cards that might leave set redemption at literally any moment. That said, Teferi's price tag actually does seem to have stabilized. That price drop has been slowing down as it approached that 30 ticket mark, and it actually has been pretty stable for the past couple of days. Of course, I'm still kind of uncomfortable about owning any card that could drop 10 or 15 tickets at a whim due to some nonsense with set redemption, but that doesn't appear to be what's happening right now. So if you've got a couple of Teferis around that you're using for a deck, I wouldn't feel too much pressure to sell. Just realize that at some point it probably will drop a little bit further, but then it'll rebound. I really do think this card has good long-term potential because it does see a ton of play in Modern. Over in Modern, the biggest loser of the week was Plague Engineer, which was going along like gangbusters before just taking an absolute nosedive over the past couple of days. It's lost 5 tickets in a matter of hours, dropping from 28 to 23, and it appears to be falling in price even further. Is something going on with the Modern metagame? Not really, this is just the kind of price overcorrection that happens all the time on MTGO, especially in recent months, when a price gets a little too high and then it overcorrects. This happened a few months ago with Mycosynth Lattice, it's happening right now with Teferi Time Raveler, and also Plague Engineer. The best thing to do when this happens is to just be patient. This card is going to bottom out at some point. It'll probably stay at a low for a couple of days before rebounding again, so if you're in the market for Plague Engineer, just pay attention to what the price is doing. At a certain point it will bottom out and you'll have a nice window to buy your Modern staple at a discount. The sneak of the week this week is Giver of Runes, another Modern Horizons staple that I haven't given as much screen time to as I probably should have. Much like Plague Engineer and Prismatic Vista, it was sort of kicking around the 5 ticket mark for a while before shooting up in value a whole lot recently. Giver of Runes is at the 17 ticket mark now, and it's not just one deck that's caused the rise, it's the fact that it's seen play in a lot of different good decks since the Hogak and Faithless Looting ban. It shows up in decks like Azorius Spirits, and the new decks that run Stoneforge Mystic, the Devoted Druid combo decks, just a lot of things that people really want to play, especially on Magic Online. This card is going to break the 20 ticket mark soon, and it will continue to rise until it sees a treasure chest reprint, or, until the metagame moves on. At the very least, I think you can buy with confidence right now. Just make sure that you sell if these cards are announced that they're going to be coming to treasure chests near you. As always, we're going to end the week by taking a look at the MTGO Trader's sales data over the past 7 days. And this gives us a great idea of which cards are buying and selling the most right now, regardless of price increases or decreases. Looking at overall sales by volume, Stoneforge Mystic was still the best-selling rare of the week by a fairly wide margin, despite its price continuing to erode. Last week it dropped from 15 down to 9 and I called it a buy. This week it dropped from 9 down to 5, and you know what? I'm doubling down on my call that this card is a buy. Look, 5 tickets is equal to what this card was worth before it was unbanned in Modern, and it is still very good in Modern. It's selling well despite this continued price erosion, and at a certain point it is going to rebound. This card will be back over the 10 ticket mark at some point this year. Short term, I don't know, maybe it'll bounce around the 5 ticket mark for a while, maybe it'll even continue to drop, but I still think that if you look at this card over the next couple of months, you will have been happy to buy in at the 5 ticket mark. In terms of overall sales by price, with Wrenn and Six followed by Force of Negation at the very top of this list because, it's always Wrenn and Six followed by Force of Negation at the top of this list. The most interesting card right now is probably Prismatic Vista, which was a top 5 seller by this metric for the first time ever. Now, Prismatic Vista is also a key piece of that 5-color Niv Mizzet deck we talked about a little bit earlier, but it also sees play in a ton of other decks that are really doing well in Modern right now, like Azorius Control and Esper Urza. Modern Horizons cards can get nutty, so even though this card is at the 30 ticket mark right now, it could even hit the 50 ticket mark at some point this year. Of course, that's all bearing what happens with treasure chests, because at some point they could dump all of these Modern Horizons cards into treasure chests and lower the price considerably, but until that happens, consider this one a buy. And that's all I've got for you this week. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Chaz Andres, and I will see you again next Monday morning for another episode of This Week in Magic Online Finance.